Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity. Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity.
Hey there, it's Reaper and welcome to today's video, which is going to be a first impressions review. And I think I'm going to do a first impressions review, like pitting two books against each other and my first impressions of both books and like comparing them, maybe? This may be starting a whole new video series. I don't know, but I'm going to be doing Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver versus plus also and If I Stay by Gail Forman. So we'll see if I end up putting these together into one video. But if not, then you'll see two separate videos, probably. Or I will, if I'm DNFing one, obviously, that would be different. But the reason that I am putting these two books against each other is because they were both pretty popular. If I Stay was more popular than Before I Fall, but I saw this one around a lot as well. Both of them have movies, I believe. I know Before I Fall does. I'm assuming that If I Stay probably does as well. So both of these are set in winter, and both of them feature a car accident as the inciting incident of the story, and both of them have speculative events that occur as a result of the car accident. Before I Fall came out in 2009. So they came out within a year of each other. Lots of things in common. This one, Before I Fall, takes place in February. Specifically, it takes place on February 12th. And it's kind of a Groundhog Day situation. Alternatively, If I Stay, after the car accident, she kind of is caught between life and death and is basically given the ability to choose whether she is going to live or not after this car accident. And if I remember correctly, she is losing someone regardless of her choice. Or like yeah, either that or it's like, so whoever was in the car with her maybe passed and like it's non-negotiable, so she's either going to also pass with them or like live without them. And yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong about some of the things about these two books, but that's kind of what I know. They can clearly focus on similar or different themes because of those setups. Like If I Stay, it clearly is going to focus on themes about like the value of life and things like that, and loss and grief. Before I Fall could easily be addressing some of those things as well. It could also be addressing things like the power of your choices and things like that. So there's kind of like similar but are also possibly different themes available in both of these. Should I go in publication order? Okay, it's kind of bright, so I'm sorry if I look a little like washed out or anything. But I have read the first 50 pages of If I Stay. Thoughts so far. We did have a moment of like, I feel like the author is kind of over explaining a few things here and there. You can just condense all of that explaining into like one sentence. It took a whole page to explain something that could have taken a sentence. Okay, so the main character in this book is a musician, and I tabbed that because this has to be the book. So I know that there is a book that was popular and that I never read where there's like a scene where they're having romantic physical things-ish, and they like pretend to, like they're both musicians and they pretend to play their instrument, but like It's supposed to be, yeah. Anyways, I forgot about that. And the moment I saw that she's a musician, I knew that this was that book. So I'm really not looking forward to that scene. She says, the main character, who's a teenager in high school, okay? She says, I'm pondering going back to bed. I say, my cello's at school, so I can't even practice. Put down the thesaurus, Gail. Put down the thesaurus. I'm pondering going back to bed. Let's translate that to an actual teenager's words. I'm considering going back to bed. I might go back to bed. I'm thinking about going back to bed. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go back to bed. Any of these options would be acceptable natural language. Natural verbiage. Pondering is not it. Pondering why we did that one. We have this little internal monologue of her talking about how she always thought that Dad might be disappointed because she didn't become a rock chick because she's into classical music. And I'm sorry, but that's not how that works at all. If a parent is going to be disappointed about their child being into classical music, it's because they wanted their child to be an athlete. I'm sorry, but that's it. Within music, it would only be the reverse that would be an issue. Okay. It would be like saying that a parent is disappointed, a mom who only reads like dramatic soapy romance is disappointed that her child reads classics. It doesn't make sense. That's not how that works. Mom and Dad had offered her to let her drive that morning. So the day of the accident, she could have been the one driving. It's going by time, and I guess it's only taking place over the course of like a day. I don't know for sure. But it's giving you like time stamps. So it starts at 7:09 a.m. and then like by 8:17 is when we're finally getting into the car. So we're going based off of time. So I think this takes place over the course of one day. Which is also interesting because the fact that like both of them have that like you should read it in a day. This one you should read it in a day because it takes place over one day. That one you should read it in a day because it's one day over and over again. So then we get to the car accident, and I find it really interesting. The music was still playing. The car was completely destroyed, but somehow the battery and the radio were still connected and running. And so the music was still playing, and they happened to be listening to classical music if she chooses to live at the end, which I'm assuming is what's gonna happen, because let's be real. Okay, she has a little brother. Why is it even a question as to if you want to survive if you have a little brother who needs you? If all three of them died, I would understand the question. But how is it a question when you have a little brother? Like, or really any sibling? I'm sorry, but I don't understand how it's even a question of if I stay. Also, this took place in February. It was a February morning, so hooray, I am reading it in the correct month. We have these like memories and like kind of flashbacks. In one of them, it is showing Mia is at a recital, or for her first recital when she was 10, and it brought up some conversations that I thought were really important, like about the power of words and how our parents' words or responses to things can impact us. Their little first date, though, was so cute. He took her to see Yo-Yo Ma, and then later, he was like, oh no, somebody couldn't use these tickets, and they gave them to me, and then later she like confronts him and says like, you didn't get these for free from a family friend, did you? And he's like, that was 2 weeks of pizza delivery tips. So cute. Can we talk about, though, that it says that her eyes are dark, but this character's eyes are not necessarily dark, are they? Mora had bath time. So while I was doing part of that, I listened to another 50 pages. She's sitting there, and he's on, he had just finished a show, and he got off stage, and would be all sweaty. And I quote, "But it was such clean sweat that part of me was tempted to lick the side of his face like it was a lollipop." I don't think I even have to say anything. I think just reading it aloud for you was enough. The audio. I found the audiobook on Libby from my library, so I borrowed it. The narrator sounds like she's like, hang on.
You're one of the punkest girls I know, no matter who you listen to or what you wear. After that, whenever I started to doubt Adam's feelings, I'd think about my wig gathering dust in my closet, and it would bring back the memory of that night.
Let me slow it down to normal speed as well.
Who you listen to or what you wear. After that, whenever I started to doubt Adam's feelings, I'd think about my wig gathering dust in my closet, and it would bring back the memory of that night.
Does that sound like a teenager to you? Because that doesn't even sound like a 20-year-old to me. Like, not even like a 20-something. Honestly, not even like a 30-something to me. That sounds like middle-aged. The casting of the narration. Explain this to me. It's first person too. Like, there's not even the excuse of, oh well, at least if it's in third person, that's fine. No, it's in first person. So I'm expected to believe that the voice that I'm listening to is the character. It does also have, or at least the spot that I started on happened to have like some music that went with it. So they did put some production value into it, and I haven't heard anything like mispronunciations or like any blips, like editing mistakes. So right after I started listening to the audio is when the scene happens. It made even less sense actually reading the scene because there's nothing actually happening. I don't even think they actually are like unclothed in any way. Maybe a lack of a shirt. Yeah, he took off his shirt, which, so it's not like a visual thing. But the amount and the type of, she takes her bow and literally is like sawing around the area of his hip bones, which does not sound comfortable or spicy to me. I don't understand. I don't understand. This is so dumb. What editor was like, oh yeah, that, okay, sure. And it adds no value to the story. That's the other thing to me, is there's nothing about them having this moment that has added any value to the story. There's no reason for it. It's not gratuitous because it's a YA book. It's not character building. It's not relationship building. So it's literally just there to be weird, awkward, make no sense, and make anybody that is not the target audience uncomfortable for sure, and probably people who are the target audience uncomfortable, to be honest. And I just and honestly, here's the funny part. I could have just been told what happened and not actually read it on page and still have had the same experience, because everything that I had been told was exactly what happened. There was nothing about what happened in that scene could have, like, you could literally describe it in a sentence. They pretended the other person was an instrument and acted it out. That was literally it. That was it. There was no contact of areas and things and none of that. So I don't understand what the point of even, like, what were you thinking when you were writing that? What were you thinking? And that's a whole nother thing, is like any YA book that has any kind of like that really bothers me anyway, because most books are being written by adults, so that's a whole nother thing that is uncomfortable to me to think about, and I don't want to think about. So we're just gonna move on and not think about this anymore. Her best friend arrives at the hospital and is really, really terrible to her mom. I'm sorry, but like, no, I don't understand. Most parents wouldn't allow their child to speak to them that way. So I was very confused by that, especially considering they have a strong background in a very traditional culture. It doesn't make sense. Their family is Jewish, and so it doesn't make any sense that she would have gotten away with talking to her parent like that. It's very confusing. It's like she's 5 different people. I feel like. And so what the author is trying to do is make her like all these different people, and it doesn't make sense. But anyways, so far I'm not like overwhelmed plot wise. It's not really doing a whole lot because we're really just kind of getting all these different backstories for the character rather than getting things that are happening now. So we are in the last 100 pages, and holy cow, the end of that last section, holy freaking cow. Okay. Back it up. Okay. Let's talk about my thoughts about everything else in this section first, and then we'll talk about that. I actually have feelings about this book now. Am I hating the book? No. Am I obsessed with the book? Also no. It feels very slice of life in a way, which kind of doesn't make sense, but also kind of does. He got there, and of course they wouldn't let him in the ICU. And they're only letting an immediate family, which gave me this thought that, like, to be honest, that's a really dumb rule, because the fact that some people don't feel safe with their immediate family. A person that is from an abusive home, that's not a safe option. And some people have no immediate family available to them. Or even close relatives that can get there. So that's a really dumb rule. I don't know if it's the same now as it was, but I really feel like there should be a system. Kim backing him up, and then we got this flashback about how she was so frustrated that Kim and her boy did not get along, or didn't like love each other, like they didn't become like best buds too. and she was really bothered by that. And she got mad at Adam because he was kind of like, it doesn't matter, it's okay. We don't have to be best friends and all this stuff. And she got mad at him, and so she went and complained to Kim about what happened. And then Kim is like, no, you're being dumb. Like, she doesn't say it like that, but she basically tells her she's being dumb. And I really appreciated that. I never really bought into the notion that they were somehow bound together through me until just now when I saw her half carrying him down the hospital corridor. We move on, and they're talking in the cafeteria. Some of the people that are there are talking about the other person that was in the accident, and the fact that, like, he wasn't drunk or anything. There was just ice, and he swerved, or and their car ended up in his lane, and he couldn't swerve or get out of the way fast enough. Like, there was nothing he could do. And excuse me. Okay. And she kind of was thinking about in her mind. So he came out pretty, like, uninjured, and they were talking about how that's how the lopsided outcome is pretty common, of one party being fine and the other having catastrophic injuries. And then she's talking in her inner monologue about, she says, I don't know if I'd call Mr. Dunlap just fine, no matter how superficial his injuries. And then she basically describes survivor's guilt. We did have an unfortunate use of the R word. Willow, the friend that they were literally driving to go see, who happens to be a nurse, shows up. So busy celebrating Willow's arrival that the implication of her being here takes a few moments to sink in, but when it does, it hits me like a jolt of electricity. Oh, I know. This must have something to do with Teddy, because she assumed that Teddy was still at the other hospital with Willow, and Willow was taking care of Teddy, and being Teddy's nurse, or, you know, like, keeping an eye on him while they were here with... Anyways, okay. Which, honestly, to be honest, her assumption, now that I think about it, does not make sense. But I'll get to that. Okay, so Willow is here. And if Willow's here, if she's in my hospital, that means there isn't any reason for her to be in her hospital. I know well enough to know that she would never have left him there. Even with me here, she would have stayed with him. He was broken and brought to her for fixing. He was her patient, her priority. I think about the fact that Gramps and Gran are in Portland with me, and that all anyone in the waiting room is talking about is me, and how they are avoiding mentioning Mom or Dad or Teddy. I think about Willow's face, which looks like it's been scrubbed clean of all joy, and I think about what she told Adam, and that I need him now more than ever, and that's how I know Teddy. He's gone too. I'm going to be real upset. Real upset. Okay, here's what I will have to say about it. If that is the case, then I will understand the if I stay a lot more. Now I'm stressed emotionally about it because, yeah. Okay, I'm invested now. I'm invested. I'm enjoying the process of getting to know these characters. I'm invested to know what the end result is going to be. All right, friends, we are nearing the end. Whoop, throwing my pencil. So after the whole her assuming, thinking, or coming to the conclusion that Teddy is gone, she had like an episode, a blood vessel issue. They had to do another surgery. Just to really think about the bitter things that she'd managed to ignore so far that day. So, like, what would it be like if she stayed? I'm not sure this is a world I belong in anymore. I'm not sure that I want to wake up. So it's like her finally like coming to terms with the situation at hand, and like addressing and facing her grief head on. She saw the nurse Ramirez, and she was like, her shift must be over soon. I'll miss her, but I'm glad she'll get to be able to get away from me, from this place. I'd like to get away too. I think I will. I think it's just a matter of time of figuring out how to let go. So she was kind of like resolved in that moment, and I was like, oh dear. But then after that, her grandparents come back in and are talking to her, and as she's listening to her grandmother talk, she's kind of like relaxing to the sound of her grandmother's voice, and she's like, sometimes I can almost fall asleep while sitting on the bar stool at the kitchen counter listening to her, blah blah blah. And then she's like, is that what death would feel like? The nicest, warmest, heaviest, never-ending nap. If that's what it was like, if that's what it's like, I wouldn't mind. If that's what dying is like, I wouldn't mind at all. And then she says, but then the next chapter, or the next paragraph starts, then I jerked myself up, a panic destroying whatever calm listening to Gran had offered. I am still not entirely clear on the particulars here, but I do know that once I fully commit to going, I'll go. But I'm not ready, not yet. I don't know why, but I'm not. And I'm a little scared that if I accidentally think I wouldn't mind an endless nap, it will happen and be irreversible, like the way my grandparents used to warn me that if I made a funny face as the clock struck noon, it would remain like that forever. So, she's not resolved, as we thought. And she just realized that she's not. So then Gran left. Gramps was there crying. And then he like quietly says to her, it's okay if you want to go. Everyone wants you to stay. I want you to stay more than I've ever wanted in my life. More than I've ever wanted anything in my life. But that's what I want, and I could see why it might not be what you want. So I just wanted to tell you that I understand if you go. It's okay if you have to leave us. It's okay if you want to stop fighting. Feels, okay? So when she's thinking about what her parents would want, she's like, I know that my mom would be livid for even considering, but Dad would understood what it meant to run out of fight. Singing and concentrating on singing. She's singing along to a song that her dad had written. And so she barely registers Willow came back to the ICU and that she's talking to the grumpy nurse and blah blah blah. Had I been paying attention, I might have realized that Willow was lobbying for Adam to be able to visit me. Had I been paying attention, I might have somehow got away before Willow was, as always, successful. So she's like, it's not that I don't want to see him now. I ache too, but I know if I see him, I'm going to lose that last wisp of peacefulness that Gramps gave me. So it's like she knows that seeing the people that are worth living for, despite the pain of losing those she can't get back. You know, because like, and what bothers me slightly is the fact that like, just her grandparents alone weren't enough of a reason. Really am hoping also that it's not just Adam that changes her resolve, that it takes more than just that. Because I don't want it to be like just because of romance, I shall live. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that her friend is allowed back in there to be with her and things like that. Talk about the last section and my thoughts overall. So then Kim came in, and I was very happy about that fact because I was, again, really worried that it was going to be just Adam fixes everything. Adam is back in there. Stay. There's no word for what happened to you. There's no good side of it, but there is something to live for. And I'm not talking about me. It's just, I don't know, maybe I'm talking crap. I know I'm in shock. I know I haven't digested what happened to your parents, to Teddy. So I'm really upset. Really upset by that. Because we didn't have to do that, okay? Like, what would have been really cool is if it ended with her, like, if right there, instead what happened was she found out that Teddy was, like, her assumption about Teddy being gone was wrong. And Teddy was okay. And then she's like, I have friends, I have my grandparents, I have my boyfriend, I have my brother. And like that, you know, like, and my brother needs me, like, but I also at the same time understand the choice of not giving her that somebody needs me, therefore I must live, because that could also be, like, I understand the message that she wants to send with that. So I just kind of wish that there wasn't a Teddy in that case, because it feels like, how do I say this without saying that phrase? I don't think I can. It feels like trauma porn. Yeah. Anyways, I couldn't think of another phrase. I'm sorry. I don't know any other way to say that. Instead of hearing Adam anymore, she starts hearing music. And it's because Adam had put headphones on her, and it wasn't on, it was like on, you know, on her body, but she could hear the music, having these visions of like what is going to happen if she stays, going through, you know, the hardship of like a funeral and visiting the cemetery, and but she's also seeing, like, you know, and hearing people call her an orphan and like talking about her, and then she sees herself like going on trips with friends, and then like it's like a mishmash of like memories and then like possible futures. Adam holding her hand, and she realizes she can like fully feel it because she's back in her body now, and then she decides, I guess, in essence, and she squeezes his hand. And then, of course, Adam felt it and tightens his grip on her hand. And he, like, of course, like, is like, and then he says, Mia? And that's it. That's the end. That's the end of the book. I think it was a good choice to end there because it's like, it is an open ending, obviously, somewhat, in the fact that like we don't see how everything plays out, but I appreciate that because of the fact that since it is a book about grief, that is kind of a logical way to go about the ending for it. So would I want to watch the movie? No. Because it is very trauma based, I wouldn't want to watch it. It's more heartbreaking than it is uplifting, but I appreciate why this book was popular. Heartbreaking books were big for a little while there. You know, it was a thing, it was a trend, but this isn't just trying to fit a trend, it is trying to have conversations, and I really appreciate that. You don't have to relate to the specific situation of loss and grief to relate to some of the hardships of the character of wanting to give up. And because we were going into all of these backstories, we experienced other hardships and other elements of why her life was difficult at times, not because she had a bad family life, but because she had small moments that imprinted themselves in her mind and set up belief systems in her mind, because she had choices to make, and that was a painful and hard element of her life, and things like that. So it's not just about the trauma of the car crash and the loss that occurred because of it, but there is more to be said. If I Stay has 899,325 ratings, and of those ratings, or from those ratings, it has a 3.9 average rating, which is actually kind of surprisingly low considering the story. I feel like that scene really did knock it down a lot more for people. Before I Fall has 336,361 ratings with an average rating of 3.89. So, fewer readers. Wait a minute. You're lying. There's a sequel? Where She Went. It's been 3 years since the devastating accident. 3 years since Mia walked out of Adam's life forever. Now living on opposite coasts, Mia is Juilliard's rising star, and Adam is a tabloid fodder thanks to his new rock star status and celebrity girlfriend. When Adam gets stuck in New York by himself, chance brings them together again for one last night. As they explore the city Mia has become Mia's home, Adam and Mia revisit the past and open their hearts to the future and each other. Significantly lower readership. It came out 2 years later, which makes sense. 293,754 ratings, so even lower than Before I Fall's readership. I think the main reason that she even would have written a second book is because book one did so well, A, and B, because she left an open ending, and that gave her the opportunity to be able to do a continuation if she wanted to, and she chose to. I am not a fan of the setup of it though, because if he has a rock star girlfriend, then that's setting up for emotional cheating, and I don't have interest in any of that. So I will not be reading the next book. I'm not interested in a sequel. I think that there's not really a reason for a sequel, because this book did what it was supposed to do, and I don't see what she could want to do with it that would actually be valuable, like in terms of themes. I'm curious to know what kind of themes she would have tackled in a sequel. I'm also curious to know if she's written anything else. Sorting by popularity, If I Stay is the most popular. Where She Went is her second most popular, which tells me that not a lot of people have read her other books in comparison to the If I Stay duology. Okay, today is the day. I am starting Before I Fall. So, all I know is that this is more of a Groundhog Day situation. And she keeps reliving the same day where she gets in this car accident, I believe is what happens. And like, I could be wrong. I think that's what's happening. So, yeah. Also, I apologize if I sound a little funky. The light, sun moved from behind a cloud. Sorry. Sorry if I sound a little funky. I have a little bit of like congestion-ish situation happening. Okay, I'm literally only 26 pages in, and I don't know that I actually can read this book. I mean, I could push myself through it, but y'all. Okay. This book is about a popular girl and her group of popular girlfriends, and they are so ugh. And there's just so much, and chapter 1 doesn't even end until page 82, and that's like just flipping ahead. I was like ready enough to be enough that I went ahead to flip ahead, and I think it's not until page 82 that we actually have our inciting incident. The whole book is only 7 chapters. Okay, I have officially decided that I am not going to read before I fall, and so this video is cut. First time reading If I Stay, though. I have to say that it was better than I thought it was going to be. There were still aspects of it, particularly the scene, that were annoying, but in general it actually was not that bad. So I am not an If I Stay hater. So there's that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this adventure of a video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so that you can join the Bear Scouts, and the notification bell as well so that you will be notified when I post, but most importantly, so I can see you again very soon. Peace out, Bear Scouts.
Forget about your worries and your stress. I mean a bare necessity. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Yeah, with just the bare necessities of life. Yeah, man.